Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. We have Kristen Carter from Phoenix, Arizona with Keller Williams.
Yeah.
And looking forward to jumping in with Kristen. Yeah, welcome, Kristen, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, I got a hold of your social profile when we had Dylan, who's your co-admin. That, by the way, for those of you that are listening, Kristen and Dylan run a ChatGPT Facebook group with over 10,000 members. So if you're looking for some good expertise of an agent that's a practicing agent for 7+ years, Kristen, and someone that teaches agents AI, we got the person on the podcast today. So Kristen, looking forward to jumping in today with you.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. This is going to be amazing.
So I'd love for you to maybe get the audience that are listening to us caught up with your backstory of how you got into real estate and the 7 years and bring us to today.
Sure. So I'm originally from California and my family relocated to Phoenix about 15 years ago. We live in the East Valley in a town called Gilbert. It is growing by leaps and bounds and we absolutely love it here. I have 3 kids, 4 dogs, married my high school sweetheart. And when we first moved here, I was actually a professional photographer. So I've always been into tech and all of the things that go into that, and met this amazing realtor through our kids. And when I was ready for a change, I took her out to lunch one day and I said, "Hey, Melanie, got this idea. Please tell me if I'm crazy or if this is something that could actually be good." And she looked at me and she said, "You know what? You're actually a perfect fit for real estate. And I just joined Keller Williams and I'm ready to grow my team." So I jumped in feet first with her and it's been a wild ride for the last 7 years. I've been a part of her team and we've grown it to now we have multiple agents on the team. We absolutely love our brokerage and where we live and serve, and just been part of the top producers in Arizona. We actually have been voted best team in Gilbert a few years in a row. And that's kind of what we've been doing. It's about a year and a half ago is when AI started taking off, and I jumped in and realized this is amazing and I need to teach my friends how to use it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, congratulations on being the top team in Arizona for sure.
Thanks.
ChatGPT, it's crazy. Like, we're almost at the 2-year mark of ChatGPT's announcement release. And I feel like with you, I've been on a wild ride ever since. And I'd love for you to share, what was your first moment where you said, it's like, I call it the holy shift moment that we all have, right? Aha moment. What was that for you?
I don't know how it was for you, but when I first learned about AI, I was like, okay, let's see what it can do. Let's just put some things in and just kind of test it out. But I wasn't thinking business at all. I was just thinking, what silly things can I ask it to do and what will it respond with? And if you remember in the beginning, it was wonky. You never really knew what you were going to get. It was kind of a roulette of is it going to give me something good or is it going to give me something terrible? And it became a game of sorts to just play with it and see what it could do. So my husband and I would have it write ridiculous stories and have it make us grocery lists and just kind of just play and see how creative it could be. And then there was one day where I was just sitting there and I was thinking, what if I used this for my business? What can it do? And I asked it to summarize The Millionaire Real Estate Agent for me. And I said, summarize this book, give me some action steps. And it did it so fast and it gave me great insight. And that was my, as you say, holy shift moment. I was like, well, what else can it do? And how can I use it as leverage?
Yeah, 100%. And in the last 2 years, I feel like we're on a ride where expertise and intelligence are on demand. Anybody has access to it, right? As long as you know how to use it, learn the prompt stuff that we're all talking about, which we're going to get into a little bit. So, you've been a real estate agent 7 years, and obviously you've sort of experimented with the Millionaire Agent. Great book, by the way. And how has your journey been? What are some use cases you're using and you're teaching agents? Let's dig into that a little bit.
For sure. And it's so funny because I feel like the gateway to start with AI is always write me a listing description, because that's just the thing that realtors tend to hate the most. Takes some creativity, takes some time. And that's always the first thing they ask. And so that was kind of what I started teaching, was just like, how can you use it to take these tasks that you dislike and make them shorter, make them faster, and remove the overthinking that we always tend to have from it and get you into action right now. So yeah, so it started out as write me a listing description. And then that became, how can you make that better? So you're not having to edit so much on the backside. And so it's crafting those prompts and working it through. And then it led to teaching people how to use it to write business plans, how to use it to create your GPS and those goals that you have, how to break down your big goals into small goals, how to craft client communications. Oh my gosh, that one was huge. Showing people that you can use ChatGPT to make template emails and then just have them stored. And all you have to do is cut and paste to send that out to a client. That streamlines a transaction by so much.
Yeah.
And I'm the type that I don't want AI to replace us, and it won't. I want it to free up those hours that we spend behind the computer so that we can get face to face with people and build those true relationships.
100%. You know, Kristen, I'm a big believer in like the quote I use is automate the ordinary so you can personalize the extraordinary.
Love that. Absolutely love that.
So that you clear your deck. I mean, you know, there's things that we all need to do that we hate to do in one category. Sometimes maybe people like writing, but most agents aren't good copywriters.
Yeah.
Right. And you need to hire help. I mean, AI is your affordable leverage, right?
Truly.
And if you know how to use it. So great use case. And that's where people start, but your journey begins. So you talked about business planning, and I saw your post in the Facebook group, by the way.
Yeah.
That the prompt stuff. So business planning is great. Listing descriptions. What are some things you're seeing? Not just obviously you're teaching them to your agents at Keller Williams, but also when you manage a big group like that, you tend to get some ideas from others as well. So what are you learning that you feel like agents can leverage?
I really like using ChatGPT, and something that actually an agent friend is doing right now on TikTok that's really cool is she's letting ChatGPT run her schedule. So every morning she's putting in what her appointments are during the day and what else she has to get done, and then letting ChatGPT tell her what to do and when. And that's
that's a cool
really
idea.
cool to watch her go through that. So that one's really awesome to see. I've seen a lot of people use it tied with other things. So like if you automate with, and this is advanced, but if you automate with like Zapier or Make, you can get your AI to actually do the extra steps for you. And that's been really neat to see people take it from a beginning level and then advance through.
Yeah. I try to break things down, and you make a great point. Like there's like different stages of AI mastery.
Yeah.
Right. The first is the assistant, like just ask it questions, one-to-one tasks, right? Listing descriptions, etc. The second phase is what you alluded to, is automation, ingesting AI into specific areas of your workflow so you can take stuff off your plate. And that's a great analogy. Like Zapier, I love Make. I started with Zapier, but then I gravitated to Make. I think Make's UI is a little better for me, but
I agree.
Again, it's right.
It's a personal preference. Like
preference, both are good. Yeah, so pick one and kind of run with it.
Yeah,
I think it can also help in lead flow and follow up. Like when you get leads from a website or other sources, like there's a lot of areas you can ingest that stuff. So how are you? I know you're teaching some of this stuff, obviously, to agents, and you spoke at Mega Camp, from what I heard, right?
Yes.
You did that training. Well, how are you leveraging AI yourself beyond the use cases that you mentioned?
So I use it mostly for my personal assistant more than anything else.
Yeah.
I haven't jumped into the automation. We have a great director of operations on our team who handles a lot of things for us. So I haven't needed that leverage. I know most of the people who use it that way tend to be solo agents with TCs versus being on a team. And so for me, it's my personal assistant. I jump in there and I use it all the time. I have ADHD. And so for me, a lot of it is like, I just get bogged down in, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? And I will pull up my ChatGPT and I'll use voice feature, and then I'll give it a brain dump. And I'll just say, here's all the things that are currently in my head that I'm thinking about that I know I need to do. And then it will create that priority task list for me. And it knows what my 80-20 is. and it knows where I need to be and what I need to do. So then it will literally rank them by highest priority, medium, and low. And then that removes that like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. And I just get into action. So I use it for that. I use it for my social media. I have it planned out, my 30 days of content. I then copy paste that into an Excel spreadsheet, and it tells me what day, what type of post it's going to be, which platform I'm posting it on, what my caption is, and what kind of carousel or reel I need to make. So again, straight into action. Like that's the biggest thing is I'm not spending hours thinking, analyzing, and doing all of that. And then I use it a lot for like analysis type things. So if I'm going to pull a market analysis or I have a PDF that's just really big, heavy numbers, I'll upload that and then I'll ask it questions and I'll just say, hey, what about this? What about that? And it really helps me with my comprehension of what I'm reading. And then a lot of the times it just reinforces what I already knew. It just gives me another perspective on it to make sure I don't miss anything.
Yeah, and I want to dig in onto the first one you mentioned, which is prioritizing your to-do list. Almost like you're using AI to prioritize your to-do list.
Yeah.
Right? Like high, medium, low type of thing. And in that case, I'm assuming you have like a custom GPT of sorts that understands you, or custom instructions that you've sort of told it.
Yeah, so I've got a couple different things. So I have a custom GPT that knows I have ADHD, and I call it my ADHD assistant.
There you go.
That one's for my days, what we call in the ADHD community red days or red light days, where just nothing's working, the bees are buzzing, and I can't think straight. So I'll use my custom GPT for those days. Other than that, I just have my custom instructions set, and I'll pull up a new chat thread and just run through.
The last one you mentioned in the three things you shared was complex document, asking it questions.
Yeah.
A great tool I found not too long ago is Notebook LM from Google.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it is breathtaking what it can do to simplify stuff, and it only operates off of your sources with AI. Right. It doesn't go off on the internet. So that's a great tool too. It converts it into a podcast to listen to, things of that nature. So it's really cool. So anything else that you're seeing, Kristen, that you feel like? So I feel like there's a majority of the agents that are listening to this podcast, people we talk to at training events and group events, are early in the AI adoption journey. Nothing wrong with it. Everybody starts somewhere. We started 2 years ago. I feel like I'm still early, the way things are changing, right? Nobody's an AI expert. I think we're just power users, some of us, right?
Right.
How do you encourage agents to stay in touch and kind of be on that journey? I call it you're on a journey to become a skilled AI realtor, right? And that's a journey. If I was listening to you and I feel like I've kind of done some basic stuff like the assistant stuff, how do I keep up with it and stay current so it can continue to help my business, so it can become an integral part of my journey?
Oh, that's a good question. So for the people who are still fairly early in their journey, I just say continue to play with it, because the more you talk to it, the more you learn how to talk to it. And if you have your custom instructions on and your memory turned on, it's going to know how to talk back to you too. So a lot of it's just time in. So what is it? Time over time, using it consistently. That's going to make the biggest difference. And it doesn't matter whether you're using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity. I don't care which one you're using. Just getting into it and learning the nuances, I think, is the biggest thing. And not giving up, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't like it. It doesn't talk like me. It's robotic. And then they just stop. And I feel like that's the point where they need to just dig deeper rather than stopping, because there's a solution.
That's great advice. Yeah, for sure. Great advice. I think, if you don't master the art of AI, you will appreciate just the generic output, but you could get frustrated with the generic output because it's not your voice. It's, and so the more you master it, I can't live without it. I mean, it's like daily usage,
Right. Well, and think about this. When we were, 10, 15 years ago, we wouldn't immediately turn to Google for things.
Yeah.
We thought of like, oh, I need to go grab a book, or I need to call somebody, whatever. And our brain said, now I have a question. I'm going to Google. I'm going to go look it up. Well,
Yeah.
we just need to retrain that from straight to Google. Well, maybe there's an AI answer. Maybe we can ask that question or work through it that way. Not to say that AI has all the answers, of course, because sometimes it's outdated and it likes to make things up,
Yeah.
but at least we can work through a lot of things using AI.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point of Google, I mean, I've sort of migrated to Perplexity
Same.
or, I mean, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've sort of retrained our muscle memory, you know? So as we wind down our pod, I'd love for, what are Kristen's go-to top 3 AI tools? I'm picking 3 just as a number, but
Okay.
you're welcome to share less or more.
Yeah. My go-to AI tools. So ChatGPT is my number one still.
Yeah.
I'm hooked on it. I've got it trained. It knows me. That's my go-to. Perplexity would be number 2. And then this sounds really silly, but captions,
Oh,
the social media editing tool, they have a lot of amazing AI features now that I adore.
100%.
It makes editing videos so fast.
So fast, yeah.
So yeah, so
those 3 that you mentioned are in my top 5.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, and tools can change as long as you understand the principles of AI. You can
right,
move from tool to tool easily.
right.
But that's great. So as we wind down, I always ask my guest, Kristen, that you've been in business for 7 years. What would be your one piece of advice for your younger self if you started in business today, knowing what you know now in business?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so knowing what I know now, one would be make friends with other agents in other states sooner than I did.
Mm,
Because I did not understand the power of national and worldwide relationships until about year 4 or 5.
wow.
And if I had started that sooner, oh my gosh, my journey would be very different. So that's probably my first one. And then my second one is just be open to opportunities. Don't just think about this as I'm selling houses. I need to know about houses. We're in a people business. We're in a relationship business. So whatever things I can leverage off on the backside, that will free me up to be with people. And that's the power of what we do more than anything else.
I love that advice. I think we're at like close to 50 podcast episodes and nobody said that first thing you just mentioned. Connections, global, national, global stuff. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So, we all listen to podcasts or books, depending on where you sort of listen to stuff or read. And there's usually 1 or 2 books or podcasts, depending on which way you want to go here, that has made a deep impact on where you are and really changed the person you've become. What would your one recommendation be, book or podcast, that agents listening to this should read?
Podcast for me is on that same relationship note. There's a podcast called We're Your Friends Now. And it's 3 amazing entrepreneurial women who just talk about life and goals and being business owners and all the things that come with that. And then they dig deep in each of their podcasts. And I can guarantee no matter which episode anyone listens to, you'll gain something from it, personal growth, because they just have a really fun perspective on a lot of topics. So that's probably my favorite podcast.
Nice.
And then book is really hard because, as you can see, we read a lot in my house. Most recently, Give and Take. That one was amazing. 7 Levels of Communication. I've read that front to back. I don't even know how many times. And then probably The One Thing. That'd be the other one. That's my go-to business Bible.
Great book. Yeah. So this has been fun, Kristen. Thank you for your time. And if you're ever looking we'll put all the contact information for Kristen in the show notes. So make sure you connect with her on social. And if you're ever looking for an agent in Gilbert's area in Arizona or Phoenix Metro, you know who to reach out to. I'm sure Kristen will take care of you, as that was her advice for all the agents listening. Make sure you have connections in every part of the world. And Phoenix is a great city to be connected to as well. So Kristen, thank you for your time. And we'll stay in touch.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.